Hey friends, we're here at the sports capital of Texas, Police Motorcycle Rodeo. That's a mouthful. Anyways, we're here today with our special guest, Quinn Redeker, which we did an interview with last year. We're going to go meet him right now. Let's go talk to Quinn.
All right, we got
Hey
that.
Quinn, what's up, man?
Hey, how you
again.
doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to
Welcome,
see
welcome.
you. Yeah, welcome to Round Rock, Texas.
Yeah, you know, the weather's been pretty nice, luckily. It's been kind of windy,
Yeah.
but I'll take a little bit of breeze and some lighter temps, you know, which has been good because it can get hot here, you know?
Yeah, well, you missed it. The week before, it was like 17 degrees
Yes.
with wind chill. It was crazy.
Oh,
crazy
I was
cold.
tracking because I knew. I was like, I am coming down here, so I'm tracking the weather, and I'm getting nervous, but it's pretty it's like, well, we're in the 70s,
Yeah.
light breeze, little hazy sunshine. It's great.
Yeah, we'll probably hit at the peak close to 80 today.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
fine.
pretty nice.
I'm okay with that.
California, Southern California weather like right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the second year they've held it here in Round Rock. Before this, it was down in Buda.
Yeah.
What other events do you go to? Don't have to name it, but how many do you do per year? You know, around.
Well, as far as like competitions, because I do a handful of different things with BMW. As far as competitions go, I probably do 6 or 7 a year. But interspersed there, I do clinics, I do trainings for agencies, then I'll do demonstrations. So like BMW MOA, they have their national rally, I'll be there doing demonstrations in Lebanon, Tennessee this June. And then BMW Motorrad has Motorrad Days in Leeds, Alabama, and actually out in Germany in July. I'll be at those as well. They mic me up when I ride around and talk and sort of show police skills types of things, what we're doing, how we ride, how we approach the bike a little bit differently than civilian riders. So those are the kind of things that I do. So as far as competitions go, though, yeah, probably somewhere around 6, 7. It varies a little bit.
Okay, so let's backpedal a little bit for people that maybe don't know you. So you're working as a brand ambassador for BMW, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Is that your official title, or?
So, I mean, I do a handful of things as a retired officer, but brand ambassador with BMW is my title as it pertains to BMW.
Sure.
So, they send me around for various types of things. If your agency's interested in BMWs and maybe going from Harley to Beamer, depending on the logistics, I'll come out, show you the bike, kind of do a presentation, meet with your motors at a training day, and go over some things with the bike, do a demonstration, but primarily facilitate your agency getting a chance to ride it and check it out, and ask questions about the hows and whys that they're different. You know, some budgetary questions that maybe a city manager might want to know about. We kind of speak to all those things, and that's really what we call a presentation.
Yeah, so talking to some of the guys here last time and this time, there's a lot of agencies that are in the transition from mainly Harley, or in some cases Goldwing, I've seen, to the BMW RT-P. On paper, I could see probably the big draw is like the fuel efficiency. You know, as a person looking at financials on the paper, like why should we switch?
Right.
You know, what are some of the big reasons why people switch other than fuel efficiency?
Well, I'll tell you what, I would say probably the biggest reason people switch is just aesthetic. If you're a Harley guy and your staff, your chief, he's a die-in-the-wool Harley guy, your agency's riding Harleys.
Okay.
That being said, what we do see nationwide is that as police motors sort of time out and the new younger guys come in, they're more performance oriented. They want a bike that does more things for them from a performance standpoint. So that tends, some of the newer, younger guys kind of start leaning toward BMWs in that way. But really the way I look at it is it's technology versus tradition. So I'm not here to tell you that one is better than the other. They're better in different ways, but you know, a BMW could never have the aesthetic and the look, the feel, the sound of a Harley Davidson. And if that matters, and in some cases it does, and that has value in and of itself, you're not transitioning to BMW. From a dollars and cents standpoint, there are, you know, there are features and benefits to the BMW that we could talk about that would bore your viewers. But it is, you know, it's a fuel efficient bike. It has a lot of adjustability, a lot of safeguards, you know, a lot of technology in it that allows that bike to accomplish some things from a bean counting standpoint that might
Sure.
matter to your agency or your city when it comes to dollars and cents.
Yeah. So let's talk about the competition itself. So later today, you're going to be, what are you going, you're a little after 1 o'clock, so you're going to do something? What are you doing?
Yes, well, so to back up a sec, today is Friday. This whole event kicked off on Tuesday, midday. You have two courses, Course A and Course B. There's about 120 officers that have signed up to be here. You're either an odd or an even number.
Mm-hmm.
And so the events here, there's these speed courses. There's a slow course, which is how slow can you go. There are team challenges, which is a 2-man team and a 4-man team for speed and penalties. There's a challenge course that we just finished up today, which is you don't get to practice, you don't get to see it. They set it up, they demonstrate it, and then boom, you're going. And those are really technical and challenging. There was a head-to-head event yesterday. So there's a lot of kind of different cool things that put us up against each other, but also just the courses are very challenging. And the goal here being, we get out here, we push, we learn, we drop our bikes, we meet other officers, we learn about techniques, we learn about equipment, we learn about, you know, what's working, what's not working. So that's kind of the goal. Now where we are today being Friday, Tuesday and Wednesday were just training days. So these courses open up at 6 in the morning and they're closed when it gets dark. And even then they don't kind of close. So to give you an idea, I have probably 5 hours of, if you just timed the amount of time I'm actually riding the course, I've probably got 5 hours of collective ride time. I'm on ibuprofen, my legs are sore. You know, I'm sleeping really good because it's exhausting, really tight patterns. So by today, we have already run one of the courses for time. And then today we're going to run the other course. Saturday, we're going to get one other chance at that course. Without getting technical, you get 2 tries on one course, only 1 try on the other course. If you run them clean, there's also a bonus of 2 seconds for running both courses clean. So you try to run clean, but of course you want to go fast. Those two things don't play well together. So that's what makes a horse race and makes this fun, right? So yeah. That's kind of where we're at today. I'm number 110 out of 120. So I'm just waiting and trying to stay ready, and not forget where the course goes and stay loose. So all of that, you know, you get into your rituals and your process so that when they say, okay, here you go, it's on you, let's go, you're ready to deliver and you don't make too many mistakes. So that's kind of where we're at today.
So talking about technique, last year I know, and this I guess happens quite often, one officer will fall and break a leg. Now, we were talking a little bit about that before. Is that where they're putting their foot on the peg, or is it that they probably took their foot off the peg and put their foot down to try to save themselves and get it tangled up?
There's a number of, you know, no two crashes are really identical, right? So it's challenging to know exactly why somebody gets injured. Generally, though, when it comes to first gear, tight patterns, we're trying to go as fast and hard as we can in a small space. That means the motorcycle is leaned over going slow, and a lot of times if you get your timing wrong, your friction zone wrong, the bike wants to hit the deck. Our natural instincts in a lot of cases is to put our foot down. The problem is, especially on the BMW, when the motorcycle is dropped over, you have saddlebags and those have crash bars. So when you put your foot down and plant your foot, the motorcycle is still rolling.
Sure.
So that crash bar will basically roll your ankle and you can snap your ankle. If you fall off and crash, the bike can kind of just roll over you. So leg injuries aren't too uncommon. Ankle injuries are probably the most common.
Oh, okay.
That being said, some of these, you know, first gear, my bike will do 40 miles an hour. So there's spots on some of these where I'm wrapped out in first. I'm not doing 40, but probably 36. And so come in hard on the brakes, you can lose the front end. And then if you lose the front end, that's a whole other type of crash. Now you're looking at hand injuries and elbows and things like that. That's not as common though. Most of these are slower speed type courses.
And then the course itself. So here at we're at the Dell Diamond baseball field parking lot here. This is all tar, basically. And then in Buda, they where you guys did it 3 years ago, it was a cement or concrete type of situation.
It was concrete, and it was to a degree textured concrete. So wet or dry, it was real grippy. This, of course, is not real grippy generally, and if it's wet, it's really not grippy.
Yeah.
And if it's really hot, it's not real grippy. It gets what I call greasy. So being number 110, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I'm going to just be waiting while the ground just gets hotter and hotter and hotter. So when I do go out,
but this is a parking lot as well, so you got all the oil from cars sitting around and all that junk.
Yeah. And then as tires go through more and more and more, you got more rubber out of the ground. So it's going to get greasier, and that's just something you kind of get used to. No two competitions have the same type of traction, and one thing you do get good at as a competitor, after you do 25 of these things, you start to see patterns, and you'll be like, I kind of get an idea, depending on the weather, depending on the event, and how much gravel and kind of cracks there are, and what I'm going to be encountering. I do a process I call acclimation. So if you notice the ground that we're here on top of, it's the same as what they're riding on.
Sure.
So I don't want to go out there when I'm pushing my bike at lean angles and momentum to try and figure out how much traction I have. That's not where I ask that question. I ask that over here in a parking lot by myself, nice and easy, and that's where I'll start ramping up the accelerating and braking forces, the lean angles, and little by little, I'll start to acclimate to how much traction do I have. Because again, we said no two events are the same, no two tractions are the same. So I'm going to learn what that is. Once I have a feel for my braking forces, how much do I have, then when I go out there and I attack the patterns, I kind of have an idea what I'm dealing with. So that's one of the things I've done for years that have helped me not hit the deck so much when I do these events.
And when you do that, as part of that acclimation to the environment wherever you are, do you adjust any parameters on your bike, like air pressure for the tires, or you kind of just keep it the same?
Not usually. So tire pressures in a slow speed first gear environment is not the same as playing with tire pressures on a road racing track where tires get really, really hot, or they overheat, or they need tire warmers before they're meaningful traction. You're in first gear on DOT street tires, so they don't really get that hot. That being said, the biggest issue that people run into when they're here is hard accelerating and hard braking. So we're loading and unloading the suspension, effectively loading and unloading the traction, right?
Sure.
So traction management becomes less of a question of my PSI in the tire and more about how meaningfully I load the tires and before I generate turning or ask for lots of brakes. So slamming the throttle versus rolling into the throttle really will make a much more impactful effect than 5 PSI on the rear or less. So that's a long-winded answer of no, I don't really play with tire pressures. And in fact, I usually run a little higher pressure because we're constantly throwing the bike around, steering, dropping, and the less tire pressure I have, the heavier the bike gets because that contact patch is bigger.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I would rather adjust my traction through the way I load the bike with my body and maintain the bike being kind of light on its feet because I've got more air pressure, so I can throw it around, especially when I'm doing this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I got 5 days of, you take 5-10 pounds out of your tire, which some of these guys do, and the bike suddenly becomes 100 pounds heavier for them. And
yeah,
maybe
you're
today
sacrificing mobility for traction.
Yeah, after 5 days. And the reality is your body positioning is ultimately going to answer the question, do you have enough traction? Like there's no amount of PSI I could drop my tires to ride like a nutball out here and not worry about traction, it's still going to be a conversation, right? So when it is a conversation and you operate your bike in a way to maintain load on it, then traction, PSI, not really an issue, not really an intersection you have to worry too much about. So then if that's not the case, let's run a little bit higher pressures and at least get some agility out of it, you know?
So one more question about parameters. Given that the BMW RT-P and just regular RTs have ride modes, do you change the ride mode for the suspension at all, for dynamic or road or
so on this newer bike, the 23s, they have this has Ride Modes Pro and has dynamic mode, and I put the damping in dynamic. I want that bike because we're going back and forth and back and forth. I don't want a lot of wallowing,
bouncing
in the suspension.
Yeah.
I want it nice and firm. I will say though, I want to say maybe it was the 2017 BMW. You could go through one up, no bags, one up with bags, one up, two up, no bags, two up with bags. You could change the preload to make that bike really, really stiff. And that I found when I did, my initial instinct was stiff. So I would do two up with luggage. And if it was not real grippy, I'd lose the back constantly. It was just so stiff. So in that case, I ended up dialing it back. But with this bike, I don't dial it back. It's just in dynamic, and the same with the engine mapping. It's in dynamic mode.
Sure.
Because I'm modulating my power with the clutch. I'm not doing a lot of this. This is very subtle. So I need power when I want it, and I'm going to control when I don't want it here anyways. So I want as much as I can get when I want it, and the bike nice and firm. Other than that, the only thing that's different about my bike, really two things. Because I counterbalance a lot, when my feet are on the pegs, it raises my outside foot, and I inadvertently start pushing on the rear brake pedal, and that now I'm actuating the brake when I don't want to, and that is problematic. So Ilium Works makes an adjustable brake pedal, nice billet aluminum pedal that is kind of on a cam where you can move your lever up and back, or down and forward, and anywhere in between. So I have an Ilium Works pedal on there, and it's down and forward, so that when I'm really counterbalanced, I'm not accidentally hitting the pedal.
Yeah. And then for your shifter, you're in first gear the whole time pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
so my foot just rests on top of the shifter. I don't touch it. The shifter's fine.
Do you put your toe on the peg, or is your foot above?
My foot,
because I'd be like, if you, like just with the brake pedal, if you accidentally hit your foot a little bit, you're going to press down. That's first gear anyway.
So if this is my foot, this is the ball, this is the heel, my peg is right in the middle.
Okay.
For the police stuff. It allows me to use force on the peg, but not push on the brake pedal. So I'm making a conscious effort to make the force in the mid portion of my boot. Now, when I ride off-road, my foot is here. When I'm ready to actuate the rear brake, I slide my foot forward and use the brake. But in this case, I'm riding it and using variations of the rear brake pedal. So I want good modulation. I don't have time to move my foot around like that. And then my foot pegs are actually off-road foot pegs.
Oh, okay.
I had to grind them and cut them and make them work, but the
so
RT,
they got some teeth and some grippy.
They're really grippy. They'll cut you. They're sharp, and they're big, heavy stainless steel off-road pegs. And the reason I have that is because I'm a big proponent of foot. I use my feet a lot. I push on the pegs. And what happens there with the standard RT pegs, which they have the rubber isolation tube over the metal peg. As I do that, after a while, they start rotating around.
Yeah.
And then the pegs are just flipped over. And it's a mess. So sometimes, depending on how my feet are, I'll end up rolling the rubber part.
It could pop off as well.
It won't come off, but it'll roll, and it moves my foot position, and it just feels really mushy. So other than that, my bike is bone stock, and it's Pursuit rated at 87 octane, so usually I run decent gas in it. But that being said, it's I think it says 17 miles to empty. I run that tank as low a fuel as I can, because every gallon of gas is about 7 pounds I'm throwing around, and less is more.
That's true. But the rest, as far as the rules go, the rest of the bike has to have all the equipment that you would have on the bike that you when you're patrolling as an officer, the
Well,
bags and all that stuff?
No, it's just the motorcycle has to be a police motorcycle, period. Certain agencies say it has to be owned by a city so that it's a honest to goodness department owned motorcycle. And the reason they do that is because, especially in the Harley class, you can modify the heck out of those bikes. So if it's your own personal bike, the odds of it not being stock are greater than if it's a city bike.
Sure.
So that's one of the reasons they do that.
Oh, okay.
You know, but no, you can take all the stuff out of your bags. They don't, you know, they're not checked because we don't all carry the same gear, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're an East Coast agency and you have rain gear. I don't have rain gear on my bag.
Yeah.
So like, well, so should you have to carry extra weight and I don't? So it's just bike specific. Has to be a police bike.
Okay. So let's move on to your kind of personal life.
Yes.
What do you got going on? You've got a YouTube channel. You've got a website.
So police motor training with Quinn Redeker. So I have my website and my YouTube channel. I'm making training videos. I think we're up to about 130 videos or so. And again, they're mostly training, just little things that I'm figuring out. Some are recorded stuff. I have a Facebook, Quinn Redeker, and police motor training also. I just came up with some new swag. We're just working on this. So can now
show the front of it.
Oh yeah,
you got a little.
This is the front here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the back is just the police motor training, which is cool. This actually is a photo that they took that I have that I was doing, and somebody shot a video of me.
I think that's the photo I used on the last.
Oh, okay.
time
Yeah.
we talked. I grabbed that photo and used it as the thumbnail.
So there you go. Yeah, I think it was on my business card. So
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Working just to expand on the relationships that I have. I'm doing more stuff with the BMW MOA. Again, participating in their national rally, which is something new and different. Doing more training stuff. I'll be out in Germany this year. I missed last year, but I was there the year before. So just trying to say yes to as many opportunities as I can. Keeps me pretty busy though. The logistics can be challenging. So I also work for Total Control Training, and I do their business development stuff where we have Lee Parks gloves. We also have training. So we have.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that like kind of MSF course type work to get people their licenses? Is that kind
of training? In the state of California, a few other states in the United States. If you go to California, you want to get your license, you're going to go through a Total Control curriculum-based program, CMSP. The California Motorcyclist Safety Program, and that's overseen by the California Highway Patrol. But Total Control owns the curriculum for that.
Okay.
And it is really cool. The thing I like about Total Control is the owner, Lee Parks, who also makes Lee Parks design gloves, really cool gloves. He's a racer, and so he's really best practice minded. And not to knock anybody else, but you know, your vision is only as good as the distance you've traveled. And that guy grew up racing motorcycles, racing ice racing and motocross and road racing. And so, you know, when we get together and talk motorcycles, that guy can go down the rabbit hole. And he's so the curriculum comparatively is pretty damn solid. Again, it's a challenge. It's the same thing I talk to other training programs in law enforcement. I teach a lot of far more esoteric and deep down the rabbit hole techniques for police agencies. Far more advanced than a basic motor school. And some people say, well, you know, Quinn, every motor should be able to do that. They should all learn that. And the problem with that is you have to ask how efficiently you can get a huge body of people through a program to be safe enough to kind of continue on. Like, think of your driver's license. If you had to be as good as Mario Andretti because he's safer than you because he's a better driver, how much training would you have to go through before you can get a license? It just wouldn't be efficient, right? Yeah. So Total Control Training on our basic program has minimum standards that, say, a motor cop would go, you know, I think maybe there's some other things you should learn and know before you can get your license. Well, that's the dance is we have a limited amount of time. We need a base skill level for you to be safe enough to develop your skills from there on out.
Sure.
And that's what the CMSP program in California is. So I'm involved in that, but Total Control also has intermediate stuff and advanced stuff, and we have an advanced motor school program as well. So pretty cool. A lot of stuff going on there that's fun. We have an adventure bike clinic, so I love all that stuff. I'm an off-road guy at heart. That's my background. So this stuff is fun, but it's not off-road.
Yeah. And for new riders, I mean, I did on my channel, I did a 5-episode thing on new riders tips. And other than riding the bike and getting the training of how to ride in the friction zone and all that stuff, there's just so many things that people don't think about, like buying your first bike. And in this case, in Austin here, all the dealerships are on 35, which is like the nightmare road for a new rider. And they go pick up their bike and they don't think that, oh crap, I gotta ride this home. And they haven't prepared, like have a friend take it home for you or organize the dealership to deliver it to you. And there's been some accidents. I've talked to the dealership, to people leaving and just crashing because they were on this major freeway that is a mess. And it's all kinds of little things like that you come across. Parking lots. Yeah. Going to a meetup and you get there and the parking lot's all gravel and you're like, oh no, I'm a new rider. How do I do this?
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, motorcycling is dangerous. So the safest way to address it is to not ride. The next best thing is I say, no amount of talent and skill can trump judgment. So I have friends that are on a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 9 rider, phenomenal. Their judgment is a 2, and they crash a lot. Yeah. And I don't mean track crashing, that's not crashing, that's just racing or whatever. Street, bad judgment. Then I have friends that are a 6, but their judgment is a 10. They know when not to push, they don't ride with their ego, they're, walk in and pay attention, and guess what? 0 incidents at all. They're good, they're healthy, they're safe, and I'm a huge advocate of think. I can teach you all kinds of cool stuff, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, judgment first, talent later.
Yeah, but we really don't speak on judgment all that much. What does that mean? What does that look like? And unfortunately, I think a lot of instructors aren't necessarily great mentors for a longevity conversation and experience for a new rider. Talent, skills are one thing, and I can teach you skills, and then you're off to figure out what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't make good decisions, especially if you think you have this newfound power on the bike. So we can go on and on for that though, but I don't have any. I don't have any beer in front of me, so.
Yeah. No, I think it's like what you do on your channel, teaching people and other people that do that, or it's just slow speed skills or something, again, new riders don't even think about. They just think about, I want to balance the bike and go straight and make turns, in shifting, and then they get somewhere like, oh, I got a U-turn. Right. And then they, put the landing gear down and kind of waddle their way around, which is fine. That's better than dropping the bike. But if you can get into a tight situation and you don't even have to think about it, and you can just perform a U-turn or any slow speed skill that you don't have to really worry about, that's really awesome to have.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? Being able to have every tool at your disposal is great. Slow speed stuff to me is fun because it's accessible. It's cheap, it's easy. Every parking lot USA, there's your opportunity. When you crash, you're going 10 miles an hour or less.
Yeah.
You maybe grind your bike up a little bit, get some engine guards, but you're not getting hit by a truck. So to me, the risk reward is great. You can challenge yourself and get scared and learn at 8 miles an hour. That's a win. Not 80 miles an hour with big rigs around. But I have friends that are like, that's great, Quinn. Not interested. And that's fair too, So it is what it is, right? I mean, some people...
Because it is a lot of work.
It's like watching paint dry for a lot of people.
Yeah. You got to find the parking lot and you got to spend some time doing figure eights and U-turns and practicing and all that good stuff and getting over that fear. I think most people just don't want to do it because they know they're probably going to drop their bike. And if it's a
Maybe,
new bike, they
yeah.
don't want to bang it up. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I'll put the landing gear down.
Well, like, you know, my father-in-law, he's been riding his whole life, solid rider. And I'm sure he'd like to be able to do this. I don't think he cares to learn to do this. And he likes taking trips, you know. We go on long day rides, cruising through canyons. We're not going under 40 miles an hour anywhere until we're pulling into park. And he has good judgment, and he's solid, you know, so really no more to say. You know, he duck walks here and there. And so far, to my knowledge, I've been down more than him, in parking lots at least, right? So we're good.
Very good. All right, Quinn, I'll let you get back to chilling out and getting ready for your next ride.
Yes.
And we'll go find you and do some footage. That'd be
I'm going to
cool.
be a while, but definitely that'd be cool. And try and turn the temperature down a little so it's not so greasy.
Yeah.
110 is going to be, that's my number. That's going to be slick out there. The last time I warmed up on it, it was cooler. So now that acclimation game, I need to go figure out how much traction I have because the game has changed since this morning. But that's all part of the fun, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I speaking about BMW and temperatures, last year and the year before, the BMW demo truck came to our dealership here in the midst of summer. And it's 100, 105 degrees here. So this year they just got word they're getting bumped and it should be here in April. So that'll be, I hope that happens because it'll make testing out to the BMWs much more enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. It sucks to ride in 105 weather here. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah. Not a lot of things are fun in 105 weather, right?
Except baked potato.
Except not being in 105 weather.
Baked potato. Yeah, we just got to get up early here, get out on the road by 7 and get home by 10 or 11 in the morning before it really kicks on. But anyways, pleasure to see you again, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out. It was cool to hang out with you.
Yeah. Quinn, thanks so much for all that information, knowledge, and your time. I really appreciate it. Check out Quinn's social media. I'll put it down in the description there below. His website, YouTube, all that. Go check it out.